Alright, 21 Savage recently dropped a new album. It's called American Dream, and there are some super fire songs on there. I personally really like the song with Travis Scott, so in this video I will be showing you guys how to create a similar vibe to the album. So let's not waste any more time, let's just jump straight in. Alright, so we are now here in FL Studio 21, as you guys can see. First things first, we just want to go over to the BPM and bump it up to something in between 160 and 165. In this case, I'm actually going to go for 165 to be exact, since I really like that BPM right there. Now, after we pick the BPM, the first thing we want to do is open up our first instrument. In this case, I'm actually just going to go for a simple piano. We can just make a simple piano pattern, maybe switch out the sound later on, but a piano is pretty much a go-to, and I also think that 21 Savage used a lot of pianos in his beats on the album. So let's just go over to the keyboard section and go down to maybe this Unreal Smash preset. Then we're just going to open up the piano roll and start picking a scale for this one. In this case, I'm actually going to go with the D minor scale. So we can just pick that and start laying down our piano pattern. Since we are in the D minor scale, let's simply just start off with the D note right here. Extend it out a little bit like this. So we're just going to make a simple D minor chord like this, skipping these highlighted notes right there. And then instead of having the chord playing, we're actually just going to have the pattern made straight up. So let's just move this a little bit to the side, and then we can build off of this by using the half steps. So we're just going to go down to this one using the half steps right here. Alright, so the key to really get that 21 Savage type of vibe is you want to make sure to use the half steps, and you also want to make sure your pattern is super repetitive. This is crucial for this type of vibe. So to keep this repetitive, we're just going to copy the whole thing over, but we're going to do one little adjustment. So let's just pitch this one up by 1 semitone. Here again, we're pretty much being repetitive by using the same pattern, but we are also using the half steps by just pitching it up 1 semitone, as you guys can see. Now we can pretty much just copy this whole thing over and just have it repeat over and over again. But make sure you go down to the velocity down here and just adjust it slightly. You can either hit Alt and R on your keyboard to just randomize it, or you can just go in manually if you want to. Now I'm just going to copy a D down here and extend it out 2 bars, so we can kind of have that as our bass notes. Now the piano preset is also a little bit harsh, so I want to add some effects to it just so we can mellow out that sound a little bit. It's actually not going to be our main pattern, we just want to have it a little bit in the background. So to start off with, we're going to open up our C20 and go over to this Magnitude Transition 1 preset. I'm also going to turn down the distortion and the magnitude right here. Then go over and add a little bit of reverb. Turn the mix to about 14–15%. Also add an EQ. And this is really going to help us mellow out the whole sound. You can also pitch the whole thing up by 1 octave. Gives us a little bit of a higher pitched sound as well. Last thing I'm going to do is just open a portal, and I'm going to go into my Mirage presets and just use displace one right here while turning down the wet and dry knob a little bit. Now that we have this piano pattern, I'm just going to go into the mixer right here and press this record button. Then all you want to do is just hit Alt and R on your keyboard to render it out as an audio file. Alright, now that we have that piano pattern rendered out as a WAV file, we're actually going to go over here to this plus sign, and we're just going to open up Fruity Slicer. Now from here, I'm just going to open up that piano pattern and drag it into Fruity Slicer right here. Then we're going to go over here and just make sure to pick beat so we can have a nice little chop on this melody, and also turn the attack up a little bit so we don't really get all of those clicking type of noises. I'm actually going to turn up the attack a lot so we can get more of a choppy type of sound. You can also go into the pattern right here and actually adjust it a little bit. Right, this is how our pattern sounds now. We just did a few adjustments right here. The pattern is pretty much repetitive as always, so it doesn't really matter too much what you do with these notes. Just play around until you have a cool sounding pattern. Right, I'm also opening up a halftime just to get more of that pulse. To really get that sound, you'd want to turn this effects knob all the way to the left. That's going to give you even more pulse, so we still have that chopped sample type of sound, even though we're actually using a pretty modern melody. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is try to recreate a little bit of that sound he has on the Travis Scott song. So to do this, I'm going to go over to the pad section in Omnisphere using the Unclean Machine presets. Okay, so I did find this pad right here. It's the Gloomy Reels pad, and I'm just going to play a little bit around with these different scenes until we have the perfect type of sound. And for the pattern, I'm literally just going to copy paste the same exact pattern we had from the main piano, but I'm going to try to do a couple adjustments. So let's just try to pitch these up a little bit so we can have it switch between the higher pitched and the lower pitched. Alright, the next thing to finish off the sample is obviously those vocals. Now I did realize that 21 Savage used a lot of soul vocals on the beats on his new album, so I'm gonna try to look through Spice and see if we can find some nice sounding vocals. Alright, so I did find this vocal right here. Now what I will do is just try to get that chopped sound out of this vocal as well. So we can do the same trick by tossing it into 3D Slicer, mess around with the pattern and see if we can find something that actually sounds nice and sampled, but still fits the piano pattern. Super chopped as well, really gives us that sound. Alright, last thing I'm going to do is just add in a quick texture from the Mirage pack as well. So it's pretty much just going to be a texture we can have in the background to pretty much fill out the atmosphere of the sample. That's pretty much the sample finished right there. Now with the sample finished, it's time we add some drums. As for the drum sounds I'm using, they are of course coming from the Mirage multi-kit. So if you guys like any of the drum sounds you hear in this video, or you just want to support the channel, make sure to check out the kit. It is on my website, which is BBMarko.com, or you guys can just click the first link down below. Now for the drums, it's pretty much going to be that Metro Boomin type of bounce. So let's just start off with the clap. I'm going to do some interesting stuff with this as well. So it's not really going to be that super standard clap pattern. We're just going to spice it up a little bit. These middle notes right here really gives it some extra bounce. Alright, hi-hat pattern is just going to complement the clap pattern as well. This is fire. Alright, now I'm going to go in with a quick snare. I don't want to overcomplicate it. We're just going to try to layer it on those middle clap hits, as well as maybe a snare roll towards the end. Alright, so the way I like going about the snare roll is actually just hit it where the clap would usually hit. So the last clap would usually hit right here. So I'm just going to put down a snare right there and extend it out a little bit. I'm not going to have them hit at the exact same time. So this one is just going to get copied over. Then we can actually delete this one that would usually hit right there. Now just shorten this, roll it out a little bit, have maybe some more down here. You can hit Alt and U to chop it up so you can have a really nice and fast roll. Down with the velocity, you also want to make sure to lower it down a little bit so it's not too overpowered. And then you can have one last hit at the end over here. So this is with the snare roll as well. Dude, there's so much space on that low end. It's time we add the kick in the 808. Now, if there is one thing that Metro Boomin is notorious for doing, it is really to make that kick and 808 pattern bounce off of each other. So the main way I like doing this is just going in over here on the kick pattern, and you just want to make sure to go in and add a little bit of a kick pattern, and you just want to go in here and add a little bit of a kick hit right before the 808 would usually hit. So as you guys can see right here, this is where the 808 would usually hit. So we're just going to have a small little kick hit right before it actually hits yet again. So we have it right here. That's a nice groove, as well as a different one at the end. Alright, now with the drums finished, I'm quickly just going to arrange the whole thing and then we'll take a final listen. Alright, so here we have the full beat. Cool little intro right here.
Shut up, Marko. Marko.
Then it builds up. Drops in. Really want the drums to be present right here. Vocals kick in. Love that chopped feel. Slow it a bit down. Then Then we bring back the kick on the second part. This is hard. Same as the intro right here. Builds up again to the hook. That's pretty much it.